Are we set to make some massive moves in this summer window? My friends, I'll be talking Rodrigo, Enzo Fernandez, Arujo, plus a lot more news you guys need to know about. So I hope you enjoy. Hit that like button. But before I go on, of course, you guys, the new 25-26 home kit is officially out. Get yours in time right now. Use my affiliate links in the description and use Nini10 at checkout to get 10% off your final order. Apologies, but there was a technical issue with myself and the club behind why my discount code wasn't working at the time. It has now finally been sorted, so apologies for that. So if you guys want to back it and get one for yourself, use the links in the card and description below. Start with things. We discussed the latest reports surrounding Benfica's centre-back in Tomas Arujo. Now, we've been brought back to reality. Our efforts for Dean Howson are set to fail as Real Madrid are now set to sign the talented Spanish defender. I think the club always realised this could be a possibility, as our biggest advantage at the time of negotiations was the fact that we perceived Real Madrid to be out of the race due to financial constraints. That has now shifted. That isn't the case, but we're not stupid. We had backup plans in case Howson don't come through, and reports resurface around a long-term target that we first heard about last year, and that is Benfica's Tomas Arujo. Now, big clubs have been monitoring this guy for a long time. PSG, they're actually considering him to be the replacement of Marquinhos, who could potentially leave PSG to go to Saudi Arabia. Let's see what happens there, because it gets you thinking, yeah? If Marquinhos was about, should we not do like a Thiago Silva remontada and potentially think about signing him this summer to add a bit more experience to the team? I wouldn't be opposed to that, man, but let's see what happens with that story. Naturally, Liverpool are looking for another centre-back too. And many big clubs, even Bayern Munich. I mean, Arujo is a real big talent. And he's in that mold of centre-back who can play wides, elite ball carrying, elite ball progressing, can defend in the wide areas as well too. And essentially looks like a bit of a midfield player playing in defence. You can see why for a few guys in that family bracket of player, or of big interest to many clubs. But I think the thing that's going to really bring many clubs back to reality is the fact that his contract expires in 2029 and there is currently an 80 mil release clause to his name. I think that's too much money. And knowing how these Portuguese clubs work, they don't have to offer discounts. And normally, when clubs want their players, they're paying top dollar, they're paying top money, and that's what they have to do. I just think to myself, I've never been too comfortable with clubs spending super money on defenders. I think every now and then there is a unique opportunity that arises where maybe you have to. Maybe this is like a top 5 centre-back of his generation. I understand that. But for most of them, I honestly think defence really shows and highlights how a club think, because it's about finding players that complement what you're doing. I'll give you an example. United spent ridiculous money on De Ligt, on his wages and his transfer fee. But you could argue if they had signed a Lacroix instead, this is a guy who's played better than De Ligt last season for a fraction of the money in terms of wages and fee. And his pace in their back line would have allowed United to do a lot more things in terms of how they press as a team. That is the thinking that I want to see for my club. And I just don't think spending 80 mil on a centre-back in this window when there's bigger priorities in other positions is the way to do things when players like your guys and others are available for less than half the money. So let's watch this space, because who knows if his fee does ultimately come down, because the key behind that would be if we negotiated Joao Felix going to Benfica with Arujo going the other way. So let's watch these reports and wait for the updates. Now let's talk everything Real Madrid, Enzo Fernandez and Rodrigo. But to start with things, I think we focus on Enzo first as a bit of a quick update. But naturally, we've been hearing of these rumours surrounding Enzo and Real Madrid now for like over a year. There's no smoke without fire. And I think some of us have felt like if the possibility arose that Madrid had the funds to entice Enzo, could something happen there, yeah? Now, a lot of confidence has grown around these reports in Spain, with some strong claims and suggestions revealing that Madrid have already reached a verbal agreement with Enzo Fernandez and that the deal is about 80% into completion. I'm guessing the verbals here would be between Madrid and Enzo Fernandez and not us and Real Madrid. I think this is cap and way too hasty to say, but it does kind of continue the narrative that there is some strong confidence and belief that Madrid feel like Enzo Fernandez is potentially available in this window. Anyway, we're learning from Spanish reports that Madrid now have been confirmed to be ready to make a move for a marquee signing that would cost the club over 100 million euros. And I think the only position they could target someone in that would require that amount of money and fee would be in midfield, because that is the key position Madrid must fix, must get right to make sure that they don't flop like they did this season for next season, yeah? And I think this is where Enzo Fernandez becomes the real tangible for Madrid. Now, Nazar Kinsella from the UK did also confirm the fact that, yes, Madrid's interest is concrete, so that cat's out the bag. But he reported that due to his sources, based on his sources, I mean, that if anyone wanted Enzo Fernandez, they would have to pay over £107 million. Now, understand this here, pay over £107 million. That wasn't he is unsellable. That was if the money was right, because the right money is ridiculous money. This is the power we have behind players signing these long-term deals. Unless we receive silly money, we aren't in any position where we're forced to sell or have to, you know? And this is where it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because Madrid are going to target a move for this marquee player after the Club World Cup, after the tournament, where hopefully if they progress deeper into it, they could receive even more money. So I think it just brings up some conversations to have. I brought up these conversations last month. I think at the time of the context of things, not many people were too responsive to that. And I saw a lot of like defensive responses and replies saying, oh, you hate Enzo Fernandez all of a sudden, even though I think I've been kind of praising and gassing this guy for most of his time over the last few years, but you know how it goes. But I'm going to bring it up again because this is the context, yeah? And we know that when Madrid wants someone, they're one of the only clubs in the world that can make it happen. And if the only thing stopping Madrid is funds, you know what I mean? It's not something we could just ignore because we're in our feelings. You know, let's put the feelings to a side and let's see things from like an AI, like analytical, cold perspective, where it's like, what is the best decision? Not what is the best decision that makes me feel good. And I just think to myself, you're asking me, because I'll give you guys my opinion straight. I rate Enzo Fernandez. I love him. I think this guy is going to be world-class for sure. But if the money was right for him, I don't think I would say no. And the only reason why I say this is because we have a certain man at this club, and his name is Andre Santos. Another player I really believe is going to be one of the top midfield players of his generation. And I'll give you guys some context. Today, a report came up from Sport in Barcelona where they're still ruined and still aggrieved by missing out on the opportunity to sign Andre Santos from Vasco da Gama. And Barca at the time tried to sign him. Deco, the sporting director, flew there. And their initial bid they made to try and sign him was 1.5 million euros plus a further 3.5 million in bonuses on top. That offer was turned down. We ended up paying over double that fee and double that offer, straight 12.5 million to Vasco da Gama. And that's how we secured the race. But Barca felt like this is someone that would have been an absolute star for them. They were really frustrated, and the report revealed that if there was the possibility that Andre Santos is available in the market, valuations are going up for him right now, and the latest valuations are offers of 50 mil euros plus 10 million on top. Now, Todd Boehly came out with another interview to Bloomberg revealing the club's high thoughts and ambitions around Andre Santos, someone who will be taking part in this summer's Club World Cup, someone the club are really excited by potential-wise. Is a massive coup for them. And I think when you have a talent who is this good, if Enzo was sold so Santos could take his first team spot and not need competition, is it a lose-lose considering the money you're receiving could be invested into signing a world-class striker or a world-class attacking player or reinvested back into the team? In midfield, you know, your Lavias, Caicedos, Asugos, Andre Santos's. You know, Palmer will probably play in midfield next season at times if you've got a potential left winger, Esteval and other players like this coming through. You know, we have to think about what we're going to do. And eventually, if it's not this summer, you guys, it will be in January. It will be next summer. A midfield of all these stars and talents won't be surviving forever. One of them is going to be unhappy and will want to leave. So this is why I'm having this conversation. I don't care about feelings. I'm just thinking about facts, being cold and analytical, what we have, what we possess, and what could work. And listen, I'm not saying I'm going to force Enzo out. I'm saying that if Enzo money was stupid, if it was out of this world, if it was more than what we paid for him, and the player wanted to go, and it meant that it gives us a better chance of getting Rodrigo or reinvesting or promoting Santos, I just think that in the context of right now, this isn't the worst case scenario for us in the context of right now. So how do you feel about things? I've given you my thoughts and opinions. Now let us know how you really feel in the comments below. And this leads us on to the massive part for today's video, and that is everything surrounding Rodrigo. Now, I'm sure some of you guys have learned the reports. I was flying back yesterday. I arrived very late in London, so this is the only time I could release something. I was pretty frustrated by that, but it was a pretty intense time, and I was abroad in Romania to keep things absolutely real with you guys. But the reports have been very exciting. They have been very promising. And we're learning that we have now made initial talks and conversations with Rodrigo's entourage, not with Real Madrid. You make the conversations first with the entourage and the team to assess if the player is interested. His package, his wages, little details like that first before you make the next step up and really just like turn your conversations into something a lot more concrete. So let's watch this. At the moment, we're still waiting for Rodrigo to fully announce his willingness to leave Madrid, but I think that will come at the end of the season, not right now. But it's been rumored now for a long time that, yeah, it's basically set to happen. And the transfer fee it could take to sign Rodrigo is believed to be around £80 million at the time. So I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling pretty vindicated. I know when I first released the Rodrigo video, maybe, you know, like too soon at the time, I was just really preempting things, to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm someone where I follow club news from all the big clubs for sure, and around football in general. I mean, you do that, I'm someone where I have like, a really good intuition. So, I'm reading things, I'm gauging things, I'm seeing the vibes, and it's just kind of indicating to me that I think this guy is going to be out the door this summer. And from seeing Madrid play so often this year, I know tactically where they're struggling. And with Alonso now taking over, I know what this guy needs to help with Real Madrid's need to fix their midfield. So I feel like Rodrigo is set to be the sacrificial lamb in this situation. And it's right that the club now are holding these talks, are kickstarting conversations, because this is a massive market opportunity. Opportunities for players like Rodrigo are not coming around too often. A guy like this in his peak prime years is moving clubs 1 to 3 times max, and even 3 times is a massive stretch, yeah? This is the prime time to get him. And you must kickstart these talks because you know that many clubs in the Premier League also need a player in that position. Arsenal, you're hearing stuff of Liverpool needing someone. Man City. Whoever gets him is signing a world-class talent and player. So the groundwork, the foundational work is needed right now, and I'm glad that we're putting this work in. Obviously, this fully depends on us securing Champions League football, but we're not losers. We must preempt the fact that we are going to get Champions League football because clubs like us who have standards and want to win, you have that type of energy, yeah? This is how you think at a bare minimum. So it's right that we are kickstarting these talks at the moment. But going on, things are kind of leading to more inclination that Madrid are going to let Rodrigo go. Talks in Spain suggest that Madrid really like Nico Williams. I'm not understanding how he would make sense alongside Mbappe and and Vinny Jr. When Rodrigo even suffered. It makes no sense. It's not my problem though, but personally, I think this story maybe is a little bit exaggerated, and maybe it's coming from Nico Williams' camp where, you know what, maybe it's time for this guy to move on right now. And those guaranteed options at Madrid and Barca aren't as guaranteed as once thought. So this is the time to put out a few feelers now to see what everyone's saying. But to move on, the big concern will come down to wages. I don't think any of us are worried about transfer fees. We know how to find creative ways to make things work. Wages will be the big thing. I think this is why CL securing that is so key and the big priority. And once we get that, of course, that will help. But another thing we can't forget is that we must get the high-earning players off the wage bill. There's 4 of these guys. It's Ben Chilwell, Kepa, Sterling, and then Kunku. Like, combined, these 4 nearly costing like what? Nearly $1 million a week, which is absolutely insane. They have to get out the door immediately to free up funds, right, for more focused recruitment. But obviously, I'm going to have a lot of videos coming out on Rodrigo, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys are still following me on TikTok. Lots of love. I'm liking the growth I'm seeing there right now, and I'm hoping you guys are liking the content there as well. But I just feel like there's going to be so much to come from this story. And as we've heard from Todd Bowley, this will be the final window where we will see the biggest investment made, because these guys aren't looking to splash this cash out every single year. It was always about the initial first few years to really secure the club's recruitment and squad for the next 10 years right now. So this is the window to end all windows. So this is why top players are being looked at. So my friends, more videos to come out from me today and throughout the summer. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Stay locked in on BlueLionsTV, and I'll see you guys very shortly. Cool.